Panic in the GOP. Top Republicans hoping against hope that they can tame Trump. But is it too late for them to reverse his hostile takeover of the party? This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Welcome to the bizarre world of politics where up is down, black is white, and the Trump campaign is doing really well.
The campaign is doing really well. It's never been so well united. We started on June 16th. I would say right now it's the best in terms of being united that it's been since we began. We're doing incredibly well.
Well, that as anger grows among the GOP powers that be over Trump's refusal to endorse Paul Ryan or John McCain. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton simply says this.
There is no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump is unqualified to be president and unfit to be commander-in-chief.
Okay, so I want everyone to watch this. I want to turn now to the Trump campaign. It's like nothing we've ever seen. And a key part of it is the unprecedented level of anger among some Trump supporters. Anger which they are not afraid to express openly. 3 New York Times reporters put together an extraordinary video capturing just some of what goes on in the crowd at Trump rallies. We have bleeped the very worst profanity, but I must warn you what remains is still disturbing, including racial, ethnic, and gay slurs, among other things. We think you need to hear it for yourself to have an accurate picture of what some Trump voters are saying.
Thank you. Do you know the safest place in the world to be is at a Trump rally?
Political correctness. Political correctness. Amen. Right on. Build that wall.
Yeah, I am. You're making me leave.
All right, because I chose to express myself.
Islam.
Islam. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you for not taking the shirt off. I did.
What's your problem with Trump?
The Constitution says that religion is a right
keep tabs on that.
Muslim is not a religion, partner. It's an ideology. You don't come and talk about America when you're supporting Muslims. Good luck to you.
Obama doesn't need a right.
Tuesday, go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump. Our president has divided this country so badly. There's a group out there, just throw them the hell out.
Get the out.
Get out.
Get out of here, Paul. Say it. Build that wall. Build that wall.
Send ambassadors back. I'm sure that paperwork comes in Spanish.
Ignorance and immigrants, they mix together. Woo! Woo!
If you don't speak English and don't contribute, get out.
Hillary Clinton needs to get her ass spanked.
Everybody gets offended by the pettiest little stuff. I mean, grow up.
Not a whole lot of women would put these shirts on and come out in public, and I thought, this is how I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel he's the last chance we have to establish law and order and preserve the culture I grew up in.
So far, we're doing well, though, right? Have I been a good messenger? This is a movement like people have never seen before.
So I want to thank, and that was from New York Times reporters Ashley Parker, Nick Corasaniti, and Erica Berenstein. And it shows what happens beyond where the rope line, where the reporters are allowed to go, because they set up places. Every campaign does it for reporters to go. And I thought it was very smart of them to get in the crowd to actually show what actually happens there beyond a roped-off area where the media is allowed to go. So here to discuss all of this now is Andre Bauer, former Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina and a Trump supporter, Angela Rye, CNN political commentator, and Bob Cusack, the editor-in-chief of The Hill. So that is really strong stuff, to say the least. You've all been watching Trump's campaign from the very start and discussing it here on CNN with me and with others. So I want to hear from each of you about what you saw when you watched that, what you thought. Bob, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I mean, I think the violence and the epithets, I mean, they are very concerning, and there is a lot of anger on both sides, and the country is very divided. And you watch that video and you think, wow, the country is so divided. And I do think that Trump, there have been a few times, it has been far and few between, when the crowd was chanting "lock her up" and Hillary Clinton, and he kind of said, hey, let's kind of calm down with his hand motion. I think he needs to do more of that, like John McCain in 2008, where he said, no, Obama is not a Muslim. That video, I think, was very brave, because clearly the crowd was fired up, and that's fine for political rallies. If you like his policies on immigration, if you like the wall, that's fine. But some of the name calling there, and particularly the violence, pretty troubling.
Andre, when you hear and you see that video and you see people, what they're doing, is this what you think he meant when he coined the slogan "Make America Great Again"?
Well, I don't think so. It's not what I think about, and quite frankly, it's not the image as a person that has affiliated with Trump or affiliated with the Republican Party. It's not the message I want to get out there. I may differ with you on political views, which we do from time to time, but I will always want a civil discussion when we have that debate.
We have had CNN reporters, we've had other reporters, we've had producers, we've had people say, this is what happens at Trump rallies, and then the people say, oh no, that doesn't exist, it does not happen. But then you're looking at, I mean, what are we not supposed to believe our lying eyes? When that happens, that's happening at a rally. You cannot deny that those things are happening. It may not be, as as John McCain said, that he doesn't represent the Republican Party, but this is what is being, the Republican Party is being portrayed as.
Well, and you're always going to find extreme things happen from time to time. I went to one rally in Myrtle Beach in February. I didn't see anything like that. This was a daytime event. I didn't actually see anybody getting out of line. It was a very peaceful event, but it's the only one I've been to was the one in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. John McCain, though, I think would say, we don't want that at our rallies, and he wouldn't appeal. Is this what people say that, is this why people say that he needs to be careful because he's appealing to the lowest common denominator? And I mean racists and bigots and misogynists and the worst possible. Yeah, fill in the blank.
Don, I have to say that I think he's well aware of what he's done. I've said this for several months now, and what he is doing. Donald Trump is not only playing to those folks, pandering to these folks' worst fears. The fact that one of the men on the video said he's preserving the culture I grew up in. That is not a culture that is inclusive. If I'm to guess his age, I would say it was a little less inclusive than it is now. I would have to.
Those demographics in the country also no longer exist.
That's exactly right. And so when you're dealing with folks who are talking about, whether or not people speak Spanish, and we're just leaving the DNC where Spanish was not only welcomed, it was encouraged. When you're talking about, the number of people who shut out F Islam, that type of dangerous hate speech needs to be checked. And Donald Trump, whether John McCain wants to acknowledge is part of the Republican Party or not, he is the leader of the Republican Party as their nominee. And he has every responsibility to check not only the commentary, but he has a responsibility to check his moral compass. Where is your moral compass? Why didn't you disavow the KKK and David Duke? Why didn't you call out the folks who were beating up the Black Lives Matter protester? Why would you offer to pay someone's bail who hit a black man in the face who then was handcuffed at one of your rallies in North Carolina?
I think he did disavow David Duke, didn't he?
I think that he said, what did he say?
He said, okay, I disavow.
He said, I rebuke him like he was the devil.
But it was sort of a tacit, like, okay,
right.
Sort of off the cuff, fine, which turned out, quite frankly, there were a lot of African Americans who, I spoke to, I shouldn't say a lot, but there were a number of African Americans who said that they would consider voting for him up until that moment. Because anything that has to do with the KKK of any type, because the KKK is not just about, they just don't, it's not about not liking black people. They don't like a whole lot of people. They don't like Jewish people. They all sorts of things. And that's the one thing where you say, no, I don't want your vote if you are that kind of person. Hillary Clinton certainly said that. She has her other problems. She has issues. But right away she said, I don't want you. I don't want that kind of a person. So I think it's interesting when people in the campaign will say, from what you're saying, by playing this video, that is indeed racist in itself, to bring up people who are racist and misogynist and anti-Semitic. That's indeed racist in some way. You've heard that.
Yeah, well, I think what is astonishing
it's like an alternate universe. You're like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. What's astonishing to me is the number of people who say you're playing the race card when you address these claims, or you're race baiting. That's not what this is. We are acknowledging that this is in fact a problem for his campaign and for the candidate. At some point you have to acknowledge that this type of behavior is not acceptable and does not belong at a presidential rally or anywhere in this country. He ought to be ashamed of himself, and if he can't not just rebuke it, but disavow it and shut it down at future rallies, at future debates, at future town hall meetings, he's got a real problem on his hands.
Bob, he can't, go ahead, Andre.
I was going to say, in defense of some of this, some of these dating back early, I remember, were actually people that were paid to be there, or people that came that really weren't Republicans. I can't quantify everything we just saw on the tape, and I'm not trying to, but there was some argument that some of this didn't come from within his own supporters, but in fact it came.
And there was a problem too with protesters provoking some of the Trump people.
I guess that's where I'm really
you have to take your responsibility
for that. But nobody made that man wear
that
F Islam shirt. Nobody told that woman to say, that some of these forms are in Spanish. If you're not contributing to the economy, then go back to where you came from. Nobody's provoking them to do that. Build a wall.
Or F you beaners or that sort of thing.
The thing about Hillary Clinton, Trump that B, I'm not going to say it, Trump that B, nobody's provoking. They're selling T-shirts.
Yeah. Bob, Trump can't control every person that comes to his rallies, and we know that. And people, they're free to believe what they want to believe, say what they want to say, no matter how offensive it might be. But this goes a little bit further than simply not being politically correct. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think also it highlights the fact of what Trump is trying to do in the general election is that if he were to come out and disavow some of these controversial statements or disavow some of these supporters or these T-shirts, it actually would get him more votes, and the Trump supporters would not abandon him. And that's why, we talked about the autopsy report after the 2012 election. Well, the reason why the RNC put that together is because they saw why they lost in 2012, and Trump is not following the script of that autopsy report. You can't just win 10% of the Latino vote, 15% Latino vote. You've got to get close to 40, and you need more than 1% of the black vote. So it highlights the strategy faults of the Trump campaign right now.
I think it's interesting to also, as we were discussing today, I was discussing with someone talking about the Khan family, and you considering the beginning of this and banning Muslims and what have you. And they said the irony in this, if the Khan family is the one thing that sort of pushed people over the edge, and from polling, it's looking like it may very well be. I think the Trump campaign and Trump supporters were counting on an America, like that man said, to take them back to that America.
Preserving the culture he
that America no longer exists.
It doesn't.
We have people who of all different ethnicities, all different religions and backgrounds, who are indeed legitimate Americans. Americans are not just white people anymore. It's not just a majority of white people.
They would deserve respect. I think the thing that the Khan family did in terms of it being a tipping point is you saw two people, one who didn't speak on the stage, but when you heard her speak, she was very articulate. You see this man who is a lawyer. They're proud of their son. He gave his life in the military, serving and protecting us. You start realizing that this could have been your next door neighbor. And all of a sudden, it's not just this blind concept that you can't apply to real life.
As a Trump supporter, I'll give you the last word, because I do think that back in 2012, the loss, that the Republican Party had it right. We need to, Reince Priebus, we need to open our tent and have bigger tent. But since then, I don't know what's happened. I'll give you the last word as a Republican and a Trump supporter.
Well, clearly, Atwater talked about this many years ago, about broadening the tent. I tried to do it in South Carolina. We've got to appeal to more folks, and the Democratic Party has done an excellent job of doing that. They almost, I thought they went overboard almost on pandering to so many groups instead of coming up with just a unified message. But the Republicans have got to do a better job. Donald Trump's got to do a better job. He's still got a great chance to be the next president of the United States. but he's got to do all he can to welcome new folks into the fold.
Are you embarrassed by that when you see that? I mean, it embarrasses me to say, I can't believe that my fellow Americans act that way. And it's
Absolutely.
It's disgusting, actually.
And then you think about the president, they were mad about the East Room comments.
Yeah.
He was doing his patriotic duty.
All right, I got to go. You guys are going to come back, but we're going to talk about some other things.
My name is Gary Johnson. Today I reach out to you, members of all political parties. I reach out to everyone with a vote and an axe to grind. From the Tea Party, the Constitution Party, the Green and Libertarian parties. I call out to all of you, including the disaffected and disillusioned among the Republicans and Democrats. Today there's a handful of people in Washington ruining America. This small group has presided over the elimination of our Bill of Rights and the systematic dismantling of our freedoms guaranteed us under our Constitution. Our leaders have blown it. I ask you to join me in trying something that's never been attempted before in America. Let's put our parties and our differences aside one time. Be libertarian with me for one election. Together, we'll stop the spending and end the war. Together, we'll restore our industrial might and our economy. And if in 4 years we as a people decide we don't like peace, prosperity, and freedom, we can always vote tyranny back into office again. America is better and brighter than this. Be libertarian with me this one time, and I'll prove it to you. Live free.